God, they're excited. Welcome to the Here and Now show. I'm your host, Lavonda Ray. And if you tuned into the Here and Now show, you know that I'm coming from the Midwest where we show in and show out. Gotta love your city. Hello, somebody. And if you've tuned into the Here and Now show, you know that this is a show where I took real life events and turned them into a positive living. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave it in the message box. So, with that being said, let's start the show. Now, welcome back. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, I feel blessed, and you should too. I know that earlier I was on the air from home, and the idea was to stream from home, but that did not work out. So I'm here. So welcome back. First of all, as always, I want to thank every single one of you guys who've been rocking with me every week, whether you just stumbled in here or you've been with me from the beginning or you just found a friendly friend online. I appreciate every comment, every share, every post. I appreciate the girl that said that she felt like she was talking directly to me and that we were in the same room. God bless you. So, before I jump into today's topic, though, I want to do a recap for those that might have missed last week's show. Last week, I talked about minding your own business, and then we also found out during that some of us has been carrying other people's problems, right? And that I told you guys don't do that if it doesn't have your name on it, a bill in your name, or if it isn't a check, then let it go. Let it go. And some of y'all still laughing, but at the same time, I can see that you're healing a little more and more. You're protecting your peace. And we talked about life after bullshit. No, I'm sorry, after the BS, and that's what it means. I talked about, the heartbreak that it comes with, the betrayal, the disappointment, the lies, the drama, and everything that convinced you that you would never smile again. But you did. Look at you. You're still standing, you're still growing, and you're still here. So, and sometimes, the fact that you can go on to another day, that is a beautiful thing with itself. So, this is just not a conversation for me. There are breakthroughs in these conversations. I laugh and we laugh together, we might cry a little bit together, but we learn at the same time. And we also learn that loving ourselves also require being honest. So now today's conversation, I feel like that some of us, a lot of us can relate to in some way. I'm talking about trauma, right? Not just trauma for women, not just trauma that men feel, not just trauma that teenagers feels or children or grandparents. Trauma does not, hi, how are you? Trauma, hi, I'm glad to have you. Trauma does not care how old you are. It doesn't care what color you are. It doesn't care where you come from. It doesn't care how much money you have. Pain has a way of just visiting everyone at some point. In your neighborhood, it's been in people's workplaces, it's been in the church, it's been in the community. But here's the thing about the good news about trauma. It may be a part of your story. Yes, it may be, but it's not the end of your story. So today, like I said, I want to laugh a little bit. I have a few little questions and answers, a couple little short stories, and hopefully we can all leave this conversation a little lighter than we were when we stepped in. So, if you're ready, I'm gonna just if you guys been rocking with me, then you know that I like jazz music to kind of set the mode, set the mood. So grab that snack or grab your evening coffee, tea, or whatever. If you like me, you grab a snack that whatever gets you through. So, with that being said, we're going to take a few seconds for a little jazz, and then we're going to dive into today's topic. And it's nice to have you. It's nice to have you. I'm glad that you are tuning in. So, I'm going to take this few moments because, like I said, I like to jazz that out a little bit. So, before we get started, a little jazz music. So, go grab that comfy tea or whatever your evening snack is. Welcome back. I know that was super short, but I want everybody to know that even if you're still getting your snack or your drink, just know that I'll still be here. So today I'm talking about life after trauma, and it doesn't mean that you forget. So trauma doesn't always look like what some people may expect. Sometimes, I've learned that trauma can look like losing someone. Trauma can look like, your childhood. Trauma could look like a divorce. Trauma can look like anything that has changed your life. Trauma, I've learned it also, dealing with prior trauma, that trauma can change the way that you look at things. Trauma can change your truth. Trauma even change the way that you love sometimes. And so sometimes, in a lot of cases, trauma also can affect the way that you accept compliments. You're getting a compliment, but you hear it one way and it's really meant in a good way. But, your trauma has you in a mind state where you think, oh, it's a catch to this beauty tip. And it's really not. Sometimes trauma does that. Some people, who carry trauma, they apologize for everything. I'm sorry I said this. I'm sorry I said that. Some people who carry trauma, they just stop asking for help altogether. Some people, they become comedians and they laugh it out and they tell jokes because it's easier to mask. You know, um, some people become very, very quiet, but we all survive differently, right? People will tell you things like, hey, just move on. And I'm like, move on? I could barely find the remote to my television. And you want me to just move on from 15 years of emotional trauma damage? Like, healing doesn't always happen because someone gives you an expiration date, right? Nor does healing, or nor does trauma, has trauma's not written on your birth certificate. Trauma simply just shows up, and it's like sometimes it's like watching somebody that you truly love be be addicted to drugs. That's trauma. Sometimes just one word or just words that people have said to you growing up repeatedly, or even as a pre-adult, and you hear certain words that you carried for 20 years, and now it's a trigger for you because that word or those events keep reoccurring. So you carried it for 20 years. So in every sentence, one moment, one heartbreak can literally change someone's entire life. You know, and that's why you have to stop assuming that just because someone says that they're okay, it doesn't mean that they're okay. Sometimes you really have to ask, are you really okay? I'm okay. Yeah, I woke up, I ate, and I was able to go to work. Yeah, I'm okay. But are you really okay? Because they look at some people, and some people like myself during my journey, I mastered the art of smiling, smiling in places where I were darkened. I master that, and some of us have. I master smiling in public places while falling apart in private. But and that's who I was back then during my journey. So before I tell you about the healing, let me tell you about the person that I was during my healing. You know, so the thing is, if you would have met me back then, okay, back then you would have thought that I had everything together because I mean, I'm doing pretty good now, but we're talking back then. And I always kept my hair done, and I still do that to this day. I always keep my hair done, my makeup, and I was still doing that. That never stopped. And baby, I could smile. Oh, I would smile. I should be the spokesman of a Colgate commercial because it smiles many, right? But that smile, you know, was a cover up, you know, because you don't want to walk around looking sad, right? Like for real, on the outside, I looked it very confident. From the outside, I looked like I had great things going, and that life looked so great, and I did have great things going, and life was great, but there was always just behind all the fancy hair and the clothes. I also, as what they say, that sometimes appearance is a disguise. It can be very deceiving. And so on the outside, if you didn't know me, then you would know that wait a minute. And so behind every smile, there was me, that woman, that behind my sunglasses, there was pain in my eyes. You know, those cute outfits that I was wearing, and I still wear. But at that time, those cute outfits, they carried pain. And I didn't know how to put that pain into words. So I put it into an outfit. Somebody, that same girl, which was me, I would always want, and maybe that somebody would ask me, "Hey, how you doing?" And I would say, "I'm fine," and hope that they would have a follow up question with it. Are you fine? But they never did, because if they had a follow up question, then I probably would fall apart and tell them I'm actually not fine. So my trauma, it did not begin overnight. It was the thing of events of things that reoccurred in my life that I ignored, that I didn't, this hurted me and I swept it under the rug. Instead of looking at the hurt, I ignored the hurt. And so, it took me a long time. So when I said that I had a story, about the girl I wore during my journey, it was, and if you get a chance to read my book, I Am Her, She Is Me, it tells you more about who I am. And so with this story of the trauma that started for me, trauma started for me in layers. But I believe that this particular was the start of the trauma. Um, I was in college. And college is supposed to be where you're, the fun time. You're learning how to be an adult. You're discovering who you are. You're meeting new friends. You're stepping into adulthood. And I thought that during this time that I found love. And things, for the most part, the relationship, it was normal. We laughed. It was simple. We laughed. We hung out. We talked about the future. I was thinking, this is the love of my life. And then this is what love is supposed to feel like, right? But little by little, the sweet conversations turned into arguments. Hmm. And the questions became accusations, like, what are you doing, and what's going on, who you with, and why are you wearing this? And it went from having a good day to where you been and who you going with. And at this time, I don't know if I thought at the time, I thought, oh, maybe it was cute. I don't know why I thought that, but I was young and unlearned. But let me tell you, family and friends, that wasn't love. That was not love. That man would call me so many names under the sun. I was everything but the woman I was. I wasn't a child of God in his eyes. I wasn't even a woman that deserved respect or even deserved to be spoken kindly to. So if someone is constantly in your ear, and you're arguing, they're constantly telling you you're not this, you're not that, eventually you start to believe that, right? And that's the thing about trauma, because as you start to hear these things repeatedly by somebody that you think that you love, then you start to have a change of heart and start to overlook yourself. You start questioning your worth, and I was doing that on a daily. I was. And that's what trauma does to some of us. It just doesn't hurt in your heart. No, it starts changing the way you see yourself. It changes the way you even talk to people. It changes the way you trust. And the hardest part wasn't hearing the hateful words he said to me. I think the hardest part for me was the secrets that I carried. And that also carried trauma, because I'm carrying secrets. I didn't want anyone to know what was going on behind closed doors. And if you have to live a life like that, that's not healthy. Like smiling in public and then crying in private. I had became a boss at pretending. Do you understand me? Masking. I became a boss at that. I thought if I look good and my hair is good and I feel good, then I would actually feel better. And I felt better outwise. But on the inside, I was still decaying with something that wasn't growing. See, trauma doesn't disappear if you hide it. It's not going to go away if you hide it. Trauma can convince you that nobody understands or nobody will ever help you. And somehow it means that you failed. And you're not a failure, but trauma will have you thinking that. And you're thinking, all these things I'm not, there's no good. Yes, there's good in you. There's good in this. There's not the end of your story. But let me tell you what I know today that I did not know back then. See, God wasn't finished with me. He was still with writing my story. That relationship had became a chapter in my life. It did not become the entire book. The pain did not destroy me. It tried to, but instead it made me indeed stronger version of who I am, even to this day. It taught me to value myself over peace, over chaos. It taught me that rejection over control, respect over control. I didn't mean rejection, I meant respect over control, and healing over pretending. And I don't share my story because I want people to feel sorry for me. I share it because I want people to know that if you're listening and you're going through that your life, there's life after all the heartbreak. Like you can still live. There is life after the pain. I believe that if I was able to make it through it with my faith, then there's no doubt in my mind that you wouldn't be able to make it through it. Just your faith, and it is so strong. If you have that, you can't go wrong. It might seem hard at first because nothing in life is really that easy, but especially when it's something that we have to do and thicken our skin. And sometimes you have to do it, but that faith would control everything. It would change everything about you. Now, I do want to say this. I do want to say this to my fellas, my brothers of all races, the men. I know that, sometimes you guys think that, hey, you can't cry, man. Man up, dude. Or maybe you've been told, keep your feelings locked away. Or maybe you was told, you know, that you don't want to talk about it, and I'd rather just, not talk about it. And maybe you were told that real men don't cry, but and that boys cry. Like, be honest, I think that sometimes when those statements are made, that men are human too, right? They have hearts. Men go through heartbreaks, no matter how tough their skin is, no matter how tough they believe that. And they may be all of that instant change because at the same time, real men, they do get disappointed, right? We get disappointed as women, so men can be disappointed as men, right? They're humans. There's nothing wrong with the man saying this is too heavy, and sometimes a man just saying that I've had it, I can't do this no more, I need help. That's the strongest thing he can do because now he's no longer, he may say, I didn't want to cry, but I got to let it out. And I'm just saying it's okay because men have trauma too, and sometimes we forget that, you know, and it's okay. I really, really want men to know that I see you. I understand that you have pain too, which brings me to a story. And before I share this story, they'll be like, "Oh, she just picked a story." Actually, a good male friend of mine told me I was okay with telling his story because it was his story of growth. Um, I had a really, really, really good friend. We've been friends for, oh my gosh, a lifetime. Um, and he always believed that pain was something that he was supposed to carry, right? Mm. And he grew up in a home where, his childhood didn't feel like a childhood, right? Instead of feeling safe, he had to learn how to survive. And that alone was hard. So he had to learn how to survive. Instead of hearing "I love you," he heard anger. He heard the chaos and the hurt. His childhood was filled with abuse from his mother. She's a lovely, lovely, lovely woman still to this day. She just had some personal struggles. But, she was, addicted to drugs. So there were days that, he didn't even know if his mother even noticed him. And I don't mean physically, I mean notice that he was hurting or in pain. And, he carried that throughout his whole childhood, as he told me. And as he got older, he became that guy who always said, I'm good, I'm good. Even though he wasn't. Like, he totally wasn't. He could laugh with the people and he showed up for work. And, but inside, he was drowning. He was drowning on the inside. So for about 25 years of his life, he carried that little boy with him. The boy that had been hurt, the boy who felt abandoned, the boy who convinced that his life, his wonderful life, could never be different than yesterday. So he didn't look forward to yesterday because the day before he just felt like, going to sleep. I don't know. And sometimes he even questioned being on this earth. It's just like, I don't know, I'm questioning if I even feel like tomorrow's going to be even greater than the next day. And then after 25 years, he made a brave decision in his late 20s, fives. He decided and he was determined to not let the next 25 years be like the last 25 years he suffered. So he, instead of, you know, reading his pain repeatedly, he started asking for help. Oh my gosh, yeah, brave. He started asking, for help. He went through counseling. He went through a stream of therapies, and he found other men in men groups that was able to support the same thing and support him. And he started facing the memories that he had buried for so many years. He cried. He cried because he had cried all those tears that he had been holding back for years and years and years. And so during his healing, you know, he started growing and he started becoming a better him, right? Like we could become a better her. He became a better him. And life, as he knew it, looked completely different because his conversation changed, his outlook for the future changed, because he's seen hope in the next day and life after that. And so today, he is living proof. That's a wonderful story to me. He is living proof that, you know, he still held on, and that yes, his past was horrible for him and it wasn't a good childhood for him, but it wasn't his ending. And yes, the scars scarred him, but the scars just reminded him of what he'd been through, and those wasn't like scars on his bodies. I'm talking about the mental scars. And to even be even more wonderful, he ended up meeting a beautiful woman, and they end up meeting each other and staying together and living together. That he got married, and him and her, they grew in the most wonderfulest way. And the strongest thing he had ever did, in my opinion, was he stopped pretending. You know, he stopped pretending that he was okay. You know, and the thing about that, sometimes we forget that. Sometimes it's like, let's take a look over here beyond our shoulder to see if that person's okay, to see if he's okay. And he had to rewrite his life, his story, because that one chapter of his life did not define the rest of his life. He took it day by day, you know, all amazingly. So, even with that being said, I love you guys so much. I have a few questions that was sent to me. Hey, I'm glad you're back. It's good to see you. I'm kind of in the middle of the show, so you caught it right during the questions. So I have a few questions that was, emailed to me, and if you guys like, you can feel free to comment. You know, doesn't matter. If you want to comment or if you just want to comment with your heart and not say anything. Okay, the first question was, should I tell people I'm depressed, or should I keep pretending I'm okay because I'm afraid they will judge me? Hmm. Well, my answer to that is, if you're hurting, you deserve. Um. Oh my. Let's see. I know I'm getting angry too. Okay, I'm back. I don't know what just happened. I am so sorry. So how much did you get to hear? Has it been black the whole time? Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh gosh. It is not my fault. I'm in the library and the internet just is going to something like, oh, now I can see. Okay, I am so sorry, and I'm glad you told me because I would have had no idea that all you seen was a black screen. I love you. Thank you very much for that. I had no idea. So it could be the connection in the library. I don't know, but I do apologize. So we're gonna the question that I was asking. Um, I was following up. I don't know. Did you hear the last question or no? Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Well, all right. So, like I said, sometimes I don't know where I left. So, but stop rushing yourself is what I was saying. You don't have a finish line. Just don't rush yourself. Get your healing in the way that you best can. I am so Oh, I don't know either. I don't know how much was streaming and how much wasn't streaming because I didn't get a notification. You were my notification. Thank you so much for that notification. I'm just like, I didn't know, right? It's a good thing that we're not perfect, right? Um, Another question was, what's the one thing that you have survived that made you stronger? Well, if I was to answer that, sometimes our biggest pain is becoming our greatest purpose. So, what is one of the things that I've survived that made me stronger? I've survived, you know, not being a people pleaser no more, because that's just not the thing, because that too can bring you trauma because you're trying to please all these people. You got to please yourself. So that was hard for me. Yes, we're in there. Thank you, thank you. I wonder if that's why. Oh my gosh, I'm just wondering how long I wasn't on the air. Hmm. Well, the next topic was who deserves access to the new version of you? Only people who's gonna bring you peace. And what habits do you have that you have left behind? The habits that I've left behind for my healing is that healing begins with making better decisions. What would it look like if if people wasn't making decisions for you? If you were making your own decision, it would be a lot easier to help. So, oh my gosh, this is actually the very almost the very end of the show. But this is also the part of the show where you can feel free to ask any questions. How was your Fourth of July? Do you celebrate the Fourth of July? How was that going for you? Um, so you can tell me about that. We can have a conversation. So family and friends, trauma may explain certain things that happen with your behavior, but it does not become your identity. Understand that. It does not. You are more than what happened to you. You are worth it still. You are still lovable. You are still enough. You are still that person, and you can still continue to have a successful journey even with trauma. The trauma that you felt just helped you grow into a better person. That you are a new version of yourself, because you are still standing, you're still loving, you're still waking up. So you're still achieving every single day. So, I'll stay on here a little bit longer for the questions, because I don't mind setting, I don't know how long I was on the air, but hopefully that was not for a long time. I hope that it was streaming a lot longer because I've been on here 30 minutes. Hello, somebody. So, if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to ask me because this is the moment that is really about you guys now. So just remember that your scars are proof that you survived. Your healing is proof that you're still here and that you're still choosing yourself and you're still choosing peace. You know, um, so today's show, I really hope that it was more than just 10 minutes. Earlier, I was streaming from home. Funny story. It's always more comfortable to stream from home because I'm at home and it's kind of like working from home. However, I have a wonderful, beautiful grandson. I have two grandsons, but my youngest grandson, he comes in. He wanted to come into the room, and yeah, it was only on the air for 5 minutes. He just wanted to be on the air. It's bless his heart. So I thought I probably should stream from home. Yeah, the sound. That is what home looks like sometimes. It's great. It feels great though. But I came back and we did it, and I'm doing it. So if you have any questions or any comments, did you enjoy your Fourth of July by any chance? Uh, Say again. I can't see nothing on my best. Did you enjoy your Fourth of July? Okay, cool. Um, Actually, the Fourth of July for me, not that anyone asked. Yes, you did. Okay, what did you do for it? Just pop fireworks, and did you have a barbecue? Did you cook? Uh, was it just you and your family? I actually it was me and my family. We pop fireworks. I watched my grandchildren have a great time. Oh, I would love to have seen that you recorded. I will record the fireworks too. Oh yeah, that's always nice. It's a memory. You can go back to it and record it. That's always nice to do. Um, I'm just looking at the side of the screen. So great, yeah. So do you? Sorry. Yes, recording it gives you memories. Oh, and you guys, I wanted to let you guys know that my book signing event for Mr. My Daughter Ava, it is out and you can buy on Amazon. Um, I will have my fourth book event the last Sunday of this month on Tuesday. So I hope you guys can send me your email. My email address is actually attached to my bio. So if you could send your email address, then I'll send you an invitation for the Zoom. It's going to be on Zoom. That way I can connect with people across the world. And I will love. Oh, thank you. I can spam hearts. That's love. I love the love. Thank you. Um, Spam me with love. Love is great. Love is everywhere. Um, so you guys make sure that either you email me, send me an email with your email address, and perhaps you guys could attend to my fourth annual book signing. I and on another note, I will have merch for the Here and Now show. So if you guys have been supporting me this long with the Here and Now show, I have merch coming out: t-shirts, sweatshirts. Hey, how you doing? I'm glad. Hi, I see you. I'll have t-shirts, mugs, hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, you name it, I'll have it. I got you guys. So automatically, I will be broadcasting that here in the next few weeks. Actually, did that. That's okay. I know you've been here. You've been rocking with me for a long time, and I love that. So thank you so much for rocking with me. So you guys, it looks like that we are 33 minutes in. I've had the best show this evening. I appreciate every and anybody that has tuned in. Again, if you have any questions or any comments, I'm about to get off the air here in 2 minutes. So yes, you guys got any dinner ideas? I'm thinking like, what do I want to cook for dinner? I have so many ideas. I was thinking, anybody know any new recipes? Like, I would love to know that. If you have any recipes or any a recipe that I can look up, or maybe someone could tell me a good new meal to cook, because I like kind of cook the same thing. Do you guys do that? You kind of find yourself cooking the same thing. That's me. Cook the same thing a lot. So I kind of want to cook something different. And if you guys have any ideas, uh, that would be wonderful. Um, Again, the weather here in the Midwest, it is very hot. It is extremely hot. It is sticky hot. You know, uh, it's so hard that my car was acting funny, right? Yeah. So, I, well, I guess that we're done with the questions, huh? This has been a blessed evening. I will be back on Tuesday. Oh, today is Tuesday. Look at me. That's how you know that I am hungry, because now I'm just speaking. I will be back on Thursday. And I appreciate all you guys for tuning in to the Here and Now show. Thank you, my guests. Thank you, my viewer, for listening. God bless. I love the hands. I love it. That's so cool. Just know I see you and I appreciate you being a part of my show. It means more than you know. Be blessed. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you on Thursday. God bless.